Most people with a business idea spend more time preparing than they really need to. And the reasons they always give is almost always related to things like not having enough experience, not being certain, and not being confident that the timing is just right. But readiness was never the real problem. The real problem is that preparation is one of the most sophisticated ways to avoid the one thing that actually builds confidence: being seen before we feel ready. This came up in a small business subreddit for someone that had everything they needed to launch but still hadn't. And I want to go through what I'd do if I were them. Someone posted, "I've had a business idea for a few months now. It would be solely local, I have all the tools required, and I wouldn't need to put forth any funds to start. And I know it could be lucrative. I'm sure this is common, but for whatever reason, I've just been sitting on it, not doing anything to launch." This is interesting as this person has all the tools. No funds needed, knows it could work, and was still sitting on it. They'd already done real work, made an ad in Canva, built a Google business profile, and set up a Facebook and Nextdoor presence. They just hadn't gotten a business license yet and hadn't done anything with it beyond making it. Then they said the part that actually explains everything. "I feel stuck with nerves of failing, or nerves of being successful and doing it poorly." 4 upvotes and 17 comments. People clearly saw something in this one. The way this owner is framing this problem is as a logistics gap. They don't know where to post. Mention Facebook groups even though they haven't used Facebook since 2011. They don't have a business license yet. They're not sure how to actually get the word out without flyers. So an implied fix looks like more research, a more clear launch checklist, or maybe a step-by-step plan for what platforms to use first. None of that addresses what they actually wrote: nerves of failing or nerves of being successful and doing it poorly. That's not a missing checklist. That's 2 different fears pointing in opposite directions. And somehow both of them lead to the exact same outcome: staying still. If the real problem was really about not knowing where to post, then getting a business license would have happened months before this post. The license, the platform research, the marketing plan, none of those are the actual obstacle. These are all things this person could have solved in an afternoon if the real blocker wasn't somewhere else entirely. There's a concept from psychology that completely changes how I think about perfectionism and procrastination by extension. Most of us think of perfectionism as a personality trait, a high standard, wanting things done right. But there's another version of it that functions less like a standard and more like a shield. The psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott spent a lot of time thinking about what he called the false self, a performed version of who we are, built to meet expectations and avoid real exposure. And one of his quieter insights was that the false self doesn't just perform competence, it performs preparation. It uses busyness, planning, and refinement as a way of staying permanently in the getting ready phase. Because the getting ready phase is the one place where you can never be evaluated on the real thing. Look at what this owner actually built: an ad, a Google platform, and a presence on 2 different platforms. All real effort and all things that look like progress. But none of it requires anyone to actually show up and judge the work. The ad can be redesigned forever. The profile can be polished forever. But none of it puts the business in front of a real customer who might say no. Or worse, might say yes and then later discover that the work wasn't as good as they hoped. That second fear, the fear of being successful but then doing it poorly, is the one to really pay attention to. It's not a fear of failure. It's fear of being seen clearly, succeeding, then having nowhere left to hide. So what actually breaks a loop like this? The decision sequence has 3 steps. Step 1. Name what's actually been avoided. Not the marketing plan, not the business license, the actual exposure. Presenting a flyer to a real neighbor, posting in a Facebook group full of strangers, or having a single real person respond and ask a question that requires an answer. This owner has every piece of preparation in place except the one that actually creates exposure. That's worth sitting with honestly before doing anything else. Step 2. Pick the smallest possible version of real exposure. Not a grand launch, not a perfect first month. The single smallest action that puts this business in front of one real person that isn't already in the owner's head. For this owner, this could be something as simple as posting in one Facebook group with an ad that they've made this week. Not after the business license, and not after a better plan, but with something that already exists. The point isn't whether or not it goes well. The point is what actually happens when a real person responds, instead of trying to imagine every possible scenario that could come up in advance. Step 3. Treat the first response as data, not as a verdict. Whatever happens after that first post, silence, a comment, or one question about pricing, none of it is a final judgment on the business itself. It's information. Information that you can only get by being seen, that no amount of preparation can ever be substituted for. The psychologist Albert Bandura called this a mastery experience. Confidence doesn't come from thinking about doing something. It comes from doing it and discovering that you survived it. Every other step in this owner situation has been for preparation. This is the only step that actually generates confidence. This owner already has everything they said they need. Tools, no funds required, and an idea of who'd actually want this. What they don't have yet is evidence that they can be seen trying to do something and then survive whatever happens afterwards. I've lived a version of this myself as well. There was a period where I was busy every single day, learning, building, and refining, and genuinely thought that I was making progress. But what I was actually doing that whole time was creating an elaborate reason for why today wasn't a day to put something real in front of a real person. So before the next video, if you've been preparing for something for longer than it should reasonably take, ask yourself honestly whether you're missing information or just avoiding exposure. Those require completely different fixes, and only one of them gets solved by more preparation. If you're working through something similar in your business and want a fresh set of eyes on it, link with me on my website so we can work it out together.